Are you wondering how the election is going to affect you? Find out on today's episode of Rockin' Real Estate News. Welcome to Rockin' Real Estate News, where we answer what's rockin' in Daytona Beach real estate. I'm Alice Cooper, and today we're talking about the presidential election. It's no shocker that the presidential election might have you wondering what's in store, and those unanswered questions can quickly snowball, stirring up a whirlwind of worry and doubt. So if buying or selling a home has been on your mind this year, you're probably curious about how the election might shake up the housing market and whether it's still a smart time to make your move. The presidential election affects the U.S. housing market by three intertwined channels: uncertainty, policy expectations, and consumer confidence. Here's what that means. Uncertainty. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to go on. The second one is policy expectations. If my candidate was elected, I'm generally more confident in the direction the country is going to go. And then finally, consumer confidence. Do I believe the economy and the market is heading in the right direction? Here's a bit of surprising good news. Presidential elections usually have only a small, temporary effect on the housing market, but it's totally fair to have these questions. After all, no one wants to hit pause on their plans without a really good reason. So let's take a look at decades of data. This will reveal what's happened to home sales, prices, mortgage rates during the last several presidential election cycles, and armed with these facts, you'll be in a better position to weigh the pros and cons for your own home ownership decisions. In the month leading up to a presidential election, from October to November, we often see a slight dip in home sales. Some folks prefer to sit tight and wait it out before making a big decision. But here's the kicker. This slowdown is usually small and short-lived. Historically, home sales bounce back quickly and keep climbing the following year. One analogy that I recently heard, and I really love, is real estate operates more like an Apple store than a McDonald's. What on earth does this mean? Well, let's imagine that we're here in Florida and a hurricane comes through. We all board up our homes. Some of us are having hurricane parties and we ride out the storm. We don't make the choice not to eat breakfast, lunch, or dinner during the storm. If we're lucky enough to have power, we cook a normal meal. If not, maybe we break out our canned soup and sandwiches and we eat. But we stay home. McDonald's misses out on that business. Now let's say you wanted to buy an iPad. You're obviously not going to run out to the Apple store and buy an iPad in the middle of a hurricane. You would wait until the storm is over, and then you'd go buy it a few days later. That's what happens to the housing market in an election year. We don't lose those home sales, they just might get delayed a little. In fact, data from the Department of Housing and Urban Development, which is HUD, and the National Association of Realtors, which is NAR, shows that after 9 of the last 11 presidential elections, home sales went up the next year. This has been a consistent trend since the early 90s. Now you might be wondering, what about home prices? Do home prices take a hit during the election years? Well, the answer, not really. A residential appraiser analysis, Ryan Lundquist, puts it, an election year doesn't alter the price of the trend that's already happening in the market. Home prices generally keep rising over time and regardless of the election cycle. So if history is any guide, the current pricing trend in Daytona Beach will likely continue. This is barring any unusual market or economic surprises. The latest data from NAR shows that after 7 of the 8 presidential elections, home prices increased the following year. The one exception, 08 to 09, during the height of the housing crash, a year that was anything but typical. So today's market is much more resilient, and while prices are leveling off nationally, they're not on a steep decline. Of course, mortgage rates are probably also on your mind, especially since they affect your monthly payment if you're financing a home. So looking at the last 11 election cycles, data from Freddie Mac shows that mortgage rates dropped from July to November in 8 of them. We're already starting to see that trend play out. Most experts are predicting that mortgage rates will ease slightly for the remainder of 24. And if that forecast holds, this year will follow the usual pattern of declining rates. So if you're planning to buy a home in the coming months, this could be great news for you. The big takeaway? While presidential elections do have an impact on the housing market, the effects are usually pretty minimal. It's completely natural to feel a little bit uncertain, but history shows that the housing market remains strong and resilient. Until next time, rock on, rock stars.